Alright, hello again. This is chapter 1.4 for Algebra 2. These are the core concepts. There are two core concepts. The first one has to do with the properties and the solving of an absolute value equation. So, for the properties, we're going to let A and B be real numbers. Alright, so basically, these represent actual real numbers, not irrationals or anything like that. Or should I say imaginaries. So if I've got the absolute value of A is greater than or equal to 0, okay, the absolute value is greater than 0. Oh no, these are the properties, I'm sorry. Fact of the matter is, absolute value of A is always bigger than 0 because the absolute value always makes it positive. The second one, which we're going to put over here, a 2 dot. The absolute value of negative A equals the absolute value of A. Okay? And that's because if I take the absolute value of anything, it makes it positive. And if I take the absolute value of anything, it also makes it positive. So even if I put a negative 3 and a negative 3, they're both going to end up positive. A positive 3 and a positive 3, they're both going to end up positive. So the absolute value on both sides will always equal each other. If I take the absolute value of two numbers, multiply by each other, and I can split that up as well, the absolute value of A times the absolute value of B. Okay? Because all these do is mess with the symbols. This, no matter whether these are positive or negative, is going to make those both positive. Alright, even if it's negative times a positive, it's going to come up positive because of the absolute value. And these, again, are just going to make everything positive. So I can divide that, split that up like this. And the last but not least is very similar to problem number 3, number 4. If I divide 2 within a big absolute value, I can split that absolute value into 1 on the top divided by 1 on the bottom. Granted, B cannot equal 0. And the reason for that is I cannot divide by 0. That's why we put that stipulation in there. So those are the properties. The absolute value of something is always bigger than 0. That's this first one. The absolute value of something always equals the absolute value of its reciprocal if it's negative. If I'm multiplying two absolute values, it's the same thing as if I multiply two independent absolute values of the same number. And then the same thing is true with the dividing. Okay? Solving absolute values. Okay, so to solve the absolute value of ax plus b equals c, when c is greater than or equal to 0, the reason that's true is all absolute values have to be bigger than 0, otherwise it is a bad equation. Okay? We solve it by writing two linear equations. One of them is ax plus b equals c. The other one is ax plus b equals negative c. Okay, we have to solve both of those. Now, when c is less than 0, basically, remember, that's when this number is less than 0, it has no solution because they always indicate a number that is not a negative. Alright, an absolute value is always positive. Okay? And that's how you solve them. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, if I'm solving it with two absolute value equations, so basically, let's say I have the absolute value of ax plus b. That equals the absolute value of cx plus d. And remember, a, b, c, d are just all numbers. Alright, x is our variable. So if I've got this absolute value equals that absolute value, we're going to do it just like the linear equations above. We're going to split it into two. We're going to have ax plus b equals cx plus d. But then we have to do it again with the negative. Ax plus b equals negative cx plus d. Just like we made the c value negative earlier, all right, we have to make this right side negative as well. All right. So basically, you do it twice. Once with a positive right side and once with a negative right side. And that's it.